problem I see a lot when people are learning how to play guitar is that they've developed some strumming elements to their playing, and they've learned to a certain degree how to play certain chords, but when they try and put the two things together, it doesn't work. They'll try and play and they'll have to stop in between, or there'll be some sort of, pause that they don't want in there. So then they got to move and, practice this sort of thing. And what I want to do is give you one little trick that you can try and work with to make this a little bit easier for you. Now, when you first start doing this, it's going to feel a little robotic at first, but as you get more comfortable with it, it's going to become more natural, and you're going to notice that most guitar players do this anyway. So here's what we have to understand about guitar playing. In order for us to move from one chord to the next chord, we have to lift our fingers off the guitar, okay? So there's a space between chord movements. I don't care how fast you are. There's a space between chords where you've got to pick up your fingers and move somewhere else. Sometimes you pick them all up, sometimes you only pick a couple of fingers up, whatever. But the point is, you're lifting your fingers and you're moving somewhere else, okay? So let's say I'm trying to move from G to D, and my strumming pattern is going down, 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 up, okay? So I go, and I want to be on D right after that. Now, what I want you to think about is comfortability, about keeping all of this movement, these chords, smooth, okay? So instead of trying to do something, let's say our tempo was a little bit faster, and instead of trying to move from one chord to the next at lightning speed, right? We're going, trying to move lightning fast. What most people will do is they'll use the last up strum of that pattern to move to the next chord, and I call that an empty chord. And the reason is because it's really not, we're not trying to play a chord there. We're trying to move from point A to point B, whatever chords we're playing. So what's going to happen, I'm going to do this really slow so you can see this, and then you can start kind of working this up. And I'll show you what it sounds like faster as well. But so I'm going to go down, 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 up, down, up. Now on that last up, that's where I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to lift up my fingers and I'm going to shift to the next chord. Now again, as you practice this, when you first start doing it, it's going to feel kind of awkward and it's going to sound kind of robotic, and that's okay. As you get more comfortable with it, it's going to happen naturally. But let me show you what it sounds like. Here we go. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. So on that last up strum, you're strumming up and your hand is already in transition to the next chord, okay? So again, I'm calling that an empty chord because it's, here's the whole point of it. This hand, the strumming hand, doesn't stop. And that's what I was trying, teach students is when you're strumming, the goal is to keep this strum going, because this is what people are tapping their feet to or nodding their heads to as you're playing. You don't ever want your strum to become kind of disjointed or speed up or slow down in a weird way or something like that. You want this just to keep going. And you don't even think about it. It just keeps going. Okay? I've got another video that talks about scratching as well, which is exactly what I'm doing, just practicing the rhythm. Okay? Now, when I come back over and start making these chords, I don't want anything to change here. I want to keep this strum going. I want to be able to strum, loud and soft, keep the dynamics interesting. I just needed to figure out how to move from this chord to this chord. So with that up in the middle, see, now you're hearing it, right? Now again, if this is where your technique comes in. If you're going at a speed that's slow enough, maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you really can switch after that last up and before the next down, and that's okay. But chances are at some point there's going to become a tempo that's just too fast for that, and you're going to need a little more time to move from one chord to the next. You're going to use that up strum in between there to do that. Let me speed up the tempo a little bit. And what happens is that up strum almost becomes part of the song, right? That empty chord actually starts sounding like it's supposed to be there as I strum. Now here's kind of the trick to that. again, you want to start slow and you want to build this all up. And once you start getting it working, what I think about is when I do that up strum, I'm not trying to over accent that strum. I don't want to go. I mean, it sounds weird anyway, but the point is that up strum, that last up strum, is fairly subtle. So you hear it, but I'm not trying to accent it anyway. So let me play again, a little bit faster tempo, so you can hear it. Okay, so that's a really great way of learning how to keep the strum going and still be able to move your chords as needed. Now, everything is comfortable. Everything feels smooth, okay? And that's really important, not just what people are hearing, but how it feels to me as a guitar player. Because if I'm trying to go, I'm like, tightening up and all these sorts of things are happening, and I don't want any of that. I just want it to happen real naturally. So as I'm playing a song, there's up strums in all of those movements. It's just happening naturally, so you're not really you're not hearing it, you're not acknowledging it because it sounds very natural, or you're just accepting it because, again, it sounds natural. That's what I want you to think about a little bit. It's a great little trick if you need to be able to make the connection between your strumming and your chord changes.